Why INFJs let people think they are naive. They think you're naive. They call you innocent. Some even mock your optimism, your trust, your belief in the goodness of others. But INFJ, you and I both know, this is not about a lack of awareness. It's about something far deeper, far more deliberate. Because the truth is, INFJs let people think they are naive, not because they are blind to the world's darkness, but because they have chosen to respond with something the world has forgotten: grace, hope, and unshakable depth. This is not weakness. This is strategy. This is soul-level strength disguised as softness. Let's go deeper. Let's finally tell the truth behind the INFJ's silent choice. 1. The mask of naivete is a shield. INFJ, you've seen too much. Felt too much. Known too much. And yet, when someone lies to you, you let it pass. When someone tests your boundaries, you smile and take a step back. They think you didn't notice. They think you're unaware. But inside, you are cataloging everything. You wear naivete like a cloak, not because you are naive, but because it gives you cover. It shields your insight. It protects your motives. It keeps people from realizing just how deep your perception runs. Because if they knew what you really saw, how you analyze every word, every pause, every facial twitch, they would feel threatened. Exposed. Terrified. So instead, you let them believe the illusion. You disarm them with softness. And while they lower their guard, you are quietly reading every chapter of their soul. That's not naivety. That's mastery. Trusting the good doesn't mean you don't see the bad. People mistake your trust for foolishness. They think because you give people the benefit of the doubt, you must not understand manipulation, betrayal, or cruelty. But INFJ, your trust is not ignorance. It's choice. You've seen betrayal. You've been stabbed in the back, again and again. You know how darkness operates. But still, you choose to believe in light. Still, you extend kindness. Still, you offer second chances. Why? Because you believe people are more than their worst moments. You believe in the possibility of redemption. And that belief, the one they call naivety, is actually the deepest form of wisdom. Because it takes tremendous strength to see the worst, and still choose to seek the best. 3. You don't expose your depth to everyone. INFJs live in layers. The outermost layer is gentle, kind, unassuming. But beneath that? A galaxy. When people call you naive, it's often because they've only seen the first layer. They haven't earned access to the rest. And that's by design. You don't reveal your depth easily. Not because you're afraid to show it, but because you know not everyone is ready for it. So you give them what they can handle. You speak simply when you could wax philosophical. You nod politely when you could dissect their psychology. You stay quiet, because your silence says more than their noise ever could. They think you're naive. But in reality, you're just choosing not to overwhelm them with your truth. And that choice is rooted in profound emotional intelligence. 4. INFJ empathy makes room for the broken. You see people's wounds. You feel their trauma. And you respond with compassion, often, even when they don't deserve it. That's when they call you naive. They say, "How could you forgive them? How can you be so nice after what they did?" But they don't understand the INFJ heart. They don't understand that your empathy is not based on logic, but on soul sight. You see the child behind the abuser. The pain behind the bully. The fear behind the arrogance. And you don't excuse them. You don't deny what they did. But you hold space for who they could become. And to a cynical world, That kind of mercy looks like naivety. But in truth, it's the highest form of spiritual strength. 5. Your inner world is your stronghold. People think you're easy to manipulate because you're quiet. They think you're easy to dismiss because you don't always speak up. But INFJ, the reason you can be still, the reason you can let them talk over you, is because your inner world is so powerful, so full, so alive, that you don't need to prove anything externally. They operate from insecurity, loud voices, aggressive energy, constant assertion. You operate from alignment. So they think you're naive, when really, you're anchored. Rooted. Immovable. You know your values. Your vision. Your truth. And you don't need external validation to confirm them. You let them think what they want. Because your soul is not available for public debate. 6. You allow underestimation to expose intentions. There is a quiet genius in letting others underestimate you. INFJ, you know this instinctively. Because when people think you're naive, they show you who they really are. They speak more freely, thinking you won't catch on. They reveal their true motives, thinking you're too soft to notice. But you notice everything. You observe patterns. You log inconsistencies. You make silent predictions that often come true. And when the time comes, when it truly matters, you act with clarity. With precision. With moral force that no one saw coming. You let them dig their own grave, with the very arrogance they mistook as your ignorance. And when truth finally emerges, it's you who walks away intact. Because you never needed the spotlight. You needed the truth. 7. You see life through a lens of purpose. Others chase power, popularity, praise. They think intelligence is about being the loudest, the smartest in the room. But INFJ, your intelligence is rooted in meaning, in purpose, in legacy. You're not here to win arguments. You're here to change lives. So when someone mocks your optimism, when they ridicule your ideals, you don't waste time trying to prove them wrong. Because you're not playing their game. You're playing the long game. You're building a life that will outlast the noise. And sometimes that means letting people think you're too idealistic, too hopeful, too naive. Because you know something they don't. The future belongs to those who believe in what they cannot yet see. And that belief is not naivety. It's prophecy. 8. The INFJ heart doesn't need to win to be right. There's a moment every INFJ knows. That moment when someone wrongs you, and you could retaliate. You could prove yourself. You could unleash the storm you've been quietly holding back. But instead, you let it go. Not because you didn't see it. Not because you weren't capable. But because you chose to rise above. You chose peace over vindication. You chose dignity over ego. You chose love over control. And yes, some saw that as weakness. They called you naive, passive, unrealistic. But what they didn't see was the spiritual weight behind your silence. The power in your stillness. You don't need to win to be right. Because truth always echoes, long after the noise fades. And INFJs know, it always does. So INFJ, the next time they call you naive, the next time they mock your kindness, dismiss your softness, or laugh at your dreams, remember this. You are not naive. You are aware. You are chosen. You are not unaware of darkness. You are simply committed to being light. Let them think what they will. Let them underestimate. Let them misread your silence, your compassion, your vision. Because the ones who are truly powerful never need to shout. They simply are. You, INFJ, are not naive. You are just not afraid to love in a world that teaches fear. You are just not afraid to hope in a world that praises cynicism. You are just not afraid to feel in a world that avoids pain. So walk on. Quietly. Boldly. Faithfully. You're not here to convince the world of your depth. You're here to live it. And that is what makes you rare. That is what makes you powerful. That is why they'll never see you coming. If this touched something inside you, INFJ, you're not alone. Like, comment your thoughts, and share this with someone who needs to remember their quiet power. Subscribe for more soul-deep truths made just for you. Until next time, stay true. Stay rare. Stay you.